What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Martian and Ozzy podcast. This week, we are back to talk about the UFC 293 pay per view going down this Saturday in Sydney, Australia, headlined by Israel Adesanya defending his middleweight title against Sean Strickland. We got 12 fights going down this Saturday night, still going down at American local time, 7 p.m. Eastern time for us. And I'm joined by my co host, as always, to break down these fights with us this week. How we doing, my man?
Yep, we remain in international waters. The passports are getting a workout. If I don't know if anybody has to go to all those places. What was it? It was Singapore. What was the one before Singapore? That was an
Uh,
international, or no? It was
no, I
last
think it
week.
was.
Was
It
different.
was Singapore,
Singapore, then
Paris.
Paris. Yeah, damn, that's a nice tour right there. Um, but yeah, that was a cool event last week. That crowd was really cool, really awesome. Last week they were really getting into it. Showing the passion of the French. And they showed a lot of spines as well because only Zara Farron was unable to get the win. And even her, she was using those dirty French tactics, eye pokes, mostly eye pokes. But yeah, I thought it was a cool card overall. There was a few hiccups here and there. That nut kick by William Gomis was insane. But apart from that, I liked the event. Did pretty well. It was all right for me.
Yeah, it was a good event. The UFC, designed it to be a good event for the French, and it was. Just got to get better for me personally at like realizing that these events are set up for the favorites to win and avoiding that. Like this week is probably going to be another one. I don't think there are. I guess there's one spot that I'll be betting against, like a hometown fighter. But I mean, when the UFC travels to an international country of some sort, they are typically favoring these matchups for the hometown fighters, and I've just got to stop getting baited on some of these underdogs. So, I mean, it wasn't like the worst. I mean, I listen. Every bet did lose for me, but I only made a very few. So, um,
Which one were the money lines at? I don't even remember.
Giannis, Reese, and Kleedson. So
Well,
three duds across the. But
well,
I guess
none of those guys are French that they lost. They lost against, dude.
Gomis. Well, yeah, French versus
They're
French.
both
Yeah,
French.
that's Yeah, but Lusa, this is something I forgot. Lusa started speaking French in the post fight because I'm like, oh shit, he's from Switzerland. The Swiss speak French. They speak everything. They speak German, English, French, and then yeah. So that's enough about that though. In terms of a recap, we are starting things off with 12 fights, but we're doing something different. Ozzy announced this a few weeks back. We're experimenting here. We're starting with with the main event. We're going from the main
Crazy,
event down. So
insane.
this is probably a good idea, honestly. I always thought about doing this, never actually did it. But we're starting off hot. We're going with the title fight, the main event. Israel Adesanya taking on Sean Strickland. Odds for this one: Izzy Adesanya -650, Strickland +475. Because it was your idea to start it off this way, you're going to start it off with the first fight for a change as well. So give us your
Cool.
thoughts on the title fight in the main event.
Cool. Yeah. So middleweight championship fight here. So they put it together, right? Sean Strickland had maybe, I guess, 6 weeks or so, maybe 5 weeks to prepare. Either way, I think a guy in the division that's in the division and kind of stuff like that. He's thought about fighting Izzy for a while. Obviously, remember that press conference from a little over a year ago. And now everybody's looking at the fight. Izzy's coming off that amazing knockout over Alex Pereira. Where he basically overcame like his biggest enemy or nemesis. And in a spectacular way. I definitely think it's a knockout of the year. But the way he did that was it kind of like showed that other facet of his game where when someone is overly aggressive or they're coming forward on him, what he's able to do on the counter. And some moments in that fight, I thought it showed just some of the great areas of his game that maybe often you don't really see when he's just trying to jab and pick away at people. Like some of the body kicks that he landed on Alex, I thought were really nasty. And I think that could maybe play dividends against a guy like Sean, who I don't know. I just feel I don't have any evidence to say he's weak to the body, but he looks like he could maybe potentially. That's why he uses that little Philly shell kind of defense that he uses to kind of like deflect some strikes like that. Maybe he's not used to being said. Maybe he's not used to taking a lot of strikes like that to the body. And then his lead leg is really easy to kick him. He kind of comes in pretty slow. He's not really a guy that cuts off the cage a lot. He did have a lot of his fights also in the UFC Apex, Martian, which is something that I wanted to point out here as well. I think he fought Alex in the big cage and a few others, but a lot of his fights, like the Brendan Allen fight, the Jack Hermanson, Uriah Hall, I maybe Jocko, Jack Marshman, all those fights in the UFC Apex. So it's gonna be very, very difficult for him to even to corner Izzy, get in his face, anything like that. And then even when he does, he's just slow-footed, flat-footed. So it's a really tough fight for him to win at all. I really think. I think he's gonna have to find some clinch time. He's gonna have to go for a takedown, but it's just not gonna be easy for him to do because Izzy inside, I think is tough as well. He's got the clinch striking, knees, elbows, flying knees. Like he can, just fight for both stances. I'm not telling you anything that you don't know already, but I will say, dude, that a plus 450, I saw like those tweets. Oh, 450, 500 on. It's not crazy. I'll tell you right now, because if I'm a bookmaker, I would love to book. I'd probably like booking Sean Strickland bets, if I'm being honest, because, do I think like the mentality of Sean Strickland? Yeah, it's, something that you want in a fighter, you would think, right? A guy who you think that he's just going in there blood and guts. He doesn't care. He's all about fighting. He's the alpha, this, and that. But a lot of times it doesn't always manifest in the cage, right? He's not like he's finishing Uriah, right? He didn't finish Uriah Hall and none of these things. And Izzy is a motherfucker to stand across from. Don't get it twisted. He's an intimidating guy. So I'm gonna pick Israel Adesanya. And actually, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say like a late finish, like a round 3, round 4. I'm gonna say like round 4. Let's say round 4. Well, it could be round 3. It could be late in round 3 or round 4. So Izzy Adesanya knockout. Round 4.
Well, I hope it's round 4 because I have bet starts round 4 in this fight.
Mm.
I just think that, sure, like you said, you brought up a good point about, when guys come and bring the fight to him, Izzy can sit down in the pocket and throw big punches, counter you, and put you out. But I just think that the way Sean Strickland fights have gone historically, especially his 5-round fights, I mean, the guy just has such like a sparring mentality, and his fights just typically go very long, right? And he lands a lot of strikes in them. And I'm kind of looking at his fight against Cannonier as, a good sign for Strickland here because we just saw Cannonier fight Vettori and just played ping pong with his head for the entire fight. And he looked like a really powerful puncher, just looked like a fucking juggernaut in that fight. And Strickland, went toe to toe with him the entire time. It never really seemed like the power of Cannonier's shots impacted Strickland. But Vettori, who we know has an insane chin, was actually getting hurt more than we've ever seen by Cannonier. So I think that actually kind of bodes well for Strickland. Uh, but you also got to think that, at any time, Israel could time that perfect shot that could really hurt him. Especially, I'm thinking like a head kick because Strickland just doesn't really react well to kicks. He likes boxing, he likes getting in close, but when you can shut him down and kick his legs and kick his body, he kind of has like weird flinching reactions. He tries to block the kicks with his arms at times. So if I can see Izzy, going leg kick, then switching up to the body, and right when Strickland starts getting comfortable to the body kicks and going to block them, he's going to go high with the head kick. So I'm concerned about that honestly, but Strickland, I think, minute to minute in this fight, I think he's going to be in there, especially early. I think he's going to be competitive. The head strikes between the two are going to be, I think, even early on, and then Adesanya will start to make the reads and pull away as the fight goes on. So I'm hoping the fight goes long. I bet on starts round 4. I also have a bet on Izzy 4-5 decision because I do think once it hits those later rounds, it should favor Adesanya, and he should have Strickland figured out by them. And I just think that m the fight finishing in rounds 1, 2, and 3 is just getting overrated. I understand that it could happen. Adesanya could knock him out here, but at -152 for starts round 4, that puts the 1, 2, 3 finish at around 40%. I think it's too high. I think, 30% would be a lot more accurate. So, I like the fight going long. I think Izzy should, get the win in the later rounds, possibly by finish. But I'll go decision. I'll go, 49-46 decision for Adesanya here. And that's going to move us along to the co-main event, which is a heavyweight fight between Tai Tuivasa and Alexander Volkov. The odds for this one have Volkov -244, Tuivasa +209. Think the odds are pretty, spot on here. You got to always respect Tuivasa because he does have that big power that could win a fight at any moment. But always been technically a mess. He's gonna be, the much worse technical striker out of the two here. He's gonna have to make the fight really dirty, get on the inside of Volkov, but he's also gonna put himself at danger trying to do that here. And we've seen Ty get beat up a lot in his recent fights. I think Volkov is a little more, risk adverse than guys like, well, even though it was kind of uncharacteristic of Gane in that fight. But Pavlovich obviously just sits down and throws until you melt, and that's what he did versus Ty. But we actually saw Gane in that fight really sit down in the pocket, not be afraid to let his strikes go, and he banged Ty out like that. But I think Volkov might be a little more disciplined with his approach here. Might try to stay on the outside, stay on the end of his strikes using that front kick, those straight punches of his, and just try to not engage in the pocket and give Ty his best chance to win. So I kind of think that the fight going long is the way to play this one, if there's any way at all. The fight going the distance at plus 250 seems like an interesting bet to me. So I'll go Volkov decision here as a bit of a contrarian take. And I'm interested to see how you think this one will go, Ozzy.
Yeah, I mean, the fight overall, the over, I think 1.5 is a pretty good price. I think overall. What's Volkov decision? You said you pick Volkov, or you like
It's
Volkov
plus
decision?
285, so
Plus two eighty five.
plus
Not
250
bad.
versus 285.
Yeah,
No.
not bad. That's a good ticket that sometimes like later on in like the first round or like after like a tense first round, you're like, I kind of like having that one in my pocket.
It's also
But I
plus
just
390 on another books too, so
plus
sorry.
390. Not bad. No worries. So yeah, I kind of like the fight going over a bit. Um and the reason I think that is just because I feel like Ty, some of those overhands and stuff like that that he lands, one, I think it's gonna just be tough on a guy like Volkov because Volkov, when he's like holding his hands up, like let's get punch kicky, his hands are kind of like really high up as well. So it's not really like he's not as goofy, I feel, as some other longer strikers where they're sometimes getting caught like reaching out with their hands or stuff like that, bad parry defense and stuff like that. So I think maybe this fight could be more at range, or it's going to be tougher for Ty to land powerful strikes. He'll be looking at leg kick. I think Volkov was down the leg kick with him as well. I don't think Volkov is scared of any leg kicking battles. He's got the long front kicks as well. But I just think Volkov is going to win this fight. I think he's shown the good chin. I think the only time I really see him being rocked is Derek Lewis and Minotov, or however you say his name, from Bellator overall. And then Volkov's got good straight strikes. He's got power on them. He's got good timing. So I think maybe we see a tepid first round. So I like the over 1.5. And then maybe that Volkov decision, I think maybe is a good thing to pair it with alongside that. And it's not really like when you're playing that over that you're not really laying juice, right? That's like pick 'em, right? I
Yeah, I think
believe.
it's minus 115.
Yeah. Yeah, so minus 115. So I think that's a very reasonable price. For something that also you don't have the volatility of I think like a potential like round stoppage either. I would say maybe Volkov has like the grappling advantage, but he's not like a dangerous grappler. The reason he finished Romanov on the ground was because Romanov just gave up. He just started throwing punches at him. So I don't really see submission equity. I don't really see ground finish equity. So it need to be a standing finish, and I think both guys could absorb each other's strikes. So let's go over 1.5.
Yep, on the same page here. Maybe couple it up with starts around over 1.5 starts round 3 goes to distance. I think this would be a good fight for that to happen. I really think it's either going to end in the first round or it might honestly go the full distance because I could see, Ty realizing that he's outstruck, realizing that he's at a disadvantage here and just not really going for broke. I don't know.
I would honestly just be surprised that Volkov round 1 KO. I don't
You
think that's
would?
happening. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that's happening. That's not happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't say surprised. I mean, I would be pretty surprised to see Ty win at all, but you
Ty's got a
know,
good chin at Volk. It's not like Volkov be uncork. He's not like he just uncorks massive punches. Like that
yeah.
Rosenstrike one was weird. No, I think this is one where, for example, remember what was the one where you said a few weeks ago? You're like, oh, that guy submitted 3 guys in a row, so I'm gonna get a good goes the distance price or something
Oh
like that.
yeah, Mario Bautista.
Exactly. So I think this is a similar situation, but heavyweight terms.
Yeah. And then not to just keep going on, but, like, I'm
Okay.
just thinking about the way that Ty got finished versus Pav and Gaunt, like, they were just windmilling punches in
Dude,
the pocket. Well, that's not Volkov style,
it's
he's
really
very
not, dude. It's really not.
he's in and out with straight shots, so,
And
um,
Volkov fought a bunch of times, no crowd, Apex, big cage, and a crowd, all the long distance. He's been training in America, so over 1.5. That's one of my more confident plays this week.
yeah, I think it's actually a good matchup too. So we're gonna move along all the way down to the flyweight division next. Manal Kape taking on Felipe Dos Santos, making his UFC debut here. Odds for this one have Kape as a big favorite, -385. Felipe Dos Santos +320. Interested to hear your thoughts on the debutant Felipe Dos Santos here.
Yeah, so Felipe was getting ready for a fight already. And he's I think it's 8-0, so he doesn't have a ton of experience overall. But with that how that makes me feel is at these lower weight classes, it's a little bit different just because I feel that these guys do get a lot of rounds in the gym. So and his last fight was, I mean, he I think he did fatigue a little bit, but he's shown, I think, overall solid overall skills. Now with Cop, I just feel this is a potential little trap spot because the guy's obviously been frustrated. He hasn't been able to get a lot of these fights, a lot of these opportunities with people higher up, more in his echelon. So it's been disappointment after disappointment. Now he was going all the way over here to fight Kai France in his hometown, right? Or his, I think, whatever, home country. And now he's like shit out of luck. He's fighting a new guy all the way over there across the world. And I think it could be a banana peel spot because the guy a lot of times not the most active sometimes with his striking, puts it on cruise control sometimes. And I'm gonna tell you one thing: it's not gonna. You can't go on cruise control against this guy Dos Santos because he's gonna keep coming after him. I feel that there's gonna be a lot of action early on, and there's definitely volatility. But I feel like there's volatility both for this fight to finish very quickly or for it to be a close decision fight on both sides of it. So and I'm saying that because I kind of think I maybe want a little bit of a tiny bit of exposure to Dos Santos, but I also think I kind of want to play this fight to go the distance as well. Um, just because I do feel Dos Santos is competent enough to hang with Cop in the striking, and then I don't really feel that Cop is going to really want to grapple in terms of like submission grappling that much here. So when you're giving me close to there's in these 300s at this weight class, you don't really see. I don't. Do you we often? When's the last? I can't remember the last plus like 350, 360 guy like this in like a matchup here where I would think that the kid actually has a future. Usually, when you have a big disparity in these lower weight classes, I feel is either like a guy like Umar, like stuff like that, or well, I'm talking specifically 125, or it's like something like Tyson Nam or like an old guy versus a young guy. So
Yeah,
I'm
it kind
taking
of makes me think of Albazi versus Costa. Do you remember that one?
right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Where Costa was in the fight, right? And then he ended up getting finished. But he was competitive. And then you saw afterwards that he killed Jimmy Flick. Like he's legit. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I'll let you get into it a little bit because I think you got thoughts here as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with a lot of what you just said. I think the Felipe is definitely the side at this plus 300 and the goes the distance. I mean, just rewatching Felipe's most recent fight, I think that's all we need to see for him to be a good shot in this one because first of all, that was a dog fight, a back and forth fight. That guy he was fighting, Hugo Paiva, is a good fighter. And he was getting lit up in the first round, honestly. He was getting hit with big left hooks to the body, he was getting hit with right hands to the head, and he absorbed all that. He absorbed all these body shots, and he was still coming forward in the second and third round. So that fight showed that he's got that dog in him, and he can take some damage and he can keep fighting. And if you're fighting Manal Kape, that's exactly what you want to see because the guy is a heavy hitter, but he's also very inactive on the feet. There's countless times throughout his career where he's been on his way to losing a round, then he lands boom a big shot, and then it completely changes the round. Or he's just like a big moment type of fighter, but he's not a minute winner, as some like to say. So when you're talking about a guy who's near 80% here, who kind of tends to give away minutes at times, then I don't think that's the right side at all. I definitely think that Dos Santos is worth a small bet here. And one quick correction though for that we got to give the audience. Kai France home country is actually Aotearoa, which is New Zealand to some. To some,
Mm,
that's the colonizer name, New Zealand. Um, but big distinction, big distinction.
right, right, right.
In
Mm.
the Anzac region, but to us Westerners, it's all the same shit. Anyway, that goes the distance because we just saw Dos Santos absorb all those shots. We saw him keep coming despite absorbing damage. So you do have potential to look foolish if Cop just blasts him out and is on a completely different level. But I also was looking at Cop's recent run is like he got to the UFC. He didn't look like that. He was a pretty flawed fighter before he got to the UFC. Then he fought pretty well and got close to winning versus two really good fighters in Nicolau and Pantoja. Then he's fought massive, massive step down in competition since then. O'Day, who's straight up not good. Zumagulov,
Mm.
who's way past his prime. Dvorak, who's okay, but just not a good, not like a physical specimen at 125. And I like Dos Santos's takedowns in some of his fights. He can kind of shoot a takedown to relieve some of the pressure at times. I thought his striking was pretty good. And like I said, the biggest thing is just I saw that he has that dog in him. He can get in a scrap. He can go to war. And I think, like you said, there's a little bit of like a banana peel element to too. He was supposed to have a bigger fight. He was supposed to be, a top five fighter. Now he's fighting a debutant. These matchups are where weird stuff happens. We've seen this year, especially, a lot of plus two, three, 400 underdogs come in on a week notice and then way overperform. Speaking of that air keg guy, last time we were in Australia, 3-1 underdog versus Dvorak and won straight up. So that's
Honestly,
that
I
five.
would pick. I think I would pick Dos Santos over Dvorak if they fought.
Yeah. I mean, this kid, he just has that scrappy Brazilian look about him too. So I got high hopes for Dos Santos. I think he'll win some fights even if he doesn't win this one. This is a good fight on the main card. But moving back to the heavyweight division, technically a rematch here. Justin
A
Tafa
great
taking on
fight.
Austin
Went
Lane.
from a good fight to a great fight.
The rematch that everyone was dying to see. Justin Tafa minus 200, Austin Lane plus 170. Pretty much the same line it was last time. First fight, 30 seconds in, Lane just top out. We literally learned nothing from this fight. Guys, if any of the cappers you're listening to this week are like trying to draw conclusions from that first fight, like, oh, Lane landed a jab 20 seconds in. No, no, that fight is irrelevant. So whatever your take you had the first time, just parlay it into this one. I don't remember what mine was because who cares about this fight? I mean, this is not really a fight you can invest in with serious confidence. So I'll go Tafa KO round one, but who the fuck knows? Complete shot in the dark here.
Yeah. So one, I want to do a callback that I believe I didn't listen back, but I believe when we first talked about it, I said that I just thought that Justin Tafa would hit Austin Lane, like Austin Lane would just be reaching out to him, doing some stupid shit, and Tafa would just come over the top and knock his ass out. Well, we got the first part of it. He was reaching out to fucking poke him in the eye, and and Tafa was trying to put his lights out, but ultimately, the poke was too strong. But now is the time where it's gonna happen, right? I think I mentioned before with Volkov, same thing. I said, there's some heavyweight lanky guys that sometimes is like awkward. They don't know where to put their hands, and then they just get clubbed. This is the guy right here. He's gonna get clubbed right over the head with a hammer within the first 6 minutes. So that's write that one down for me. I'm gonna say left hand over the top, and then maybe like a right uppercut, and then he's gonna go down. So that's my pick.
Interesting. I would actually prefer this one if Lane poked him in the eye again right away. That would be the best outcome here.
You hate eyes now. You're against eyes. You
No,
four-eyed fuck.
that would just be hilarious. Um, Anyway, moving on to the last fight on the main card. I mean, this main card, to be honest, guys, like it fucking sucks. I mean, Justin Tafa and Tyson Pedro on the main card, horrible shit. So Pedro taking on Turkalj here, light heavyweight division. And the odds for this one have near pick 'em back and forth line. Pedro minus 114, Turkalj minus 104. Got a bet on this one. A multi-unit bet. Anton
Holy
Turkalj,
shit.
the Swede, plus money here. Got plus 110. And I think I might have jumped the gun, and it might have been your turn, but fuck it.
No, keep
Um,
going.
so I mean, it just comes down to grappling and cardio for me. You know, Tyson Pedro gassed out in a record-setting time in his last fight. And it just seems like Pedro, if he can't knock you out early on, this guy does not like it when the fight gets out of the first round. When the fight doesn't go his way, I don't know if he's ever won a fight outside the first round, honestly. No, never ever in his entire career won a fight outside the first round. Not to
That'd be
be not
bad. That'd be bad considering the guys that he's beat. You know what I mean? If
yeah.
he had to go
Understood.
outside around one to be a Harry Hunsucker, that'd be a fucking problem.
Gotta win over the legend Paul Craig now, and Khalil Roundtree. You know, this guy at one point a few years ago was okay, but it seems like just taking a few losses really zapped his confidence, zapped his dedication, took a long layoff, and he came back and beat some bums, Villanueva and Hunsucker, and then he gassed out in 4 minutes flat versus Bukakis. Maybe he comes back reinvigorated and says, "Oh, I took my last opponent for granted. I had two quick finishes. I didn't train as hard for that fight, and now maybe he comes back more motivated." I doubt it though, because Anton, in his last fight, despite losing to Petrino, good stuff there. I think that Petrino is, a better striker, a better athlete, better everything than uh, Pedro here. And, Anton had the right idea. He was going for his takedowns. He was trying to get the back day. He was losing it. And I just think that Anton is going to attempt the right thing. He's going to try to grapple here. I think he has a massively clear cardio advantage here. And I think that the longer the fight goes, the better his chances get. And there's a slight potential he gets lit up early on here. But I mean, even Petrino didn't even put him in that bad trouble on the feet. So I just think Turkalj has way better upside here. The longer the fight goes, it's going to favor him and a big grappling advantage as well. So I think Anton probably finishes him in the second or third round with the choke.
Interesting here. So I mean, there's people on both sides of this fight. I know some people they're adamant, like yourself. They're like, Anton, this and that. But a lot of these guys they get plus money, which I will probably gravitate towards. But then there's some other people that are like, hey, like if you think about it, Pedro is actually better in every facet, right? Well, this is what they think. Like better striker, throws harder, maybe a little stronger. I think he technically has the jiu-jitsu black belt, but man, this guy makes some bad decisions in these fights, man. He hit a nice takedown against Bukakis. So it was a nice clinch takedown. I love seeing it. But then the gilly he jumps, horrible. He fucking goes for a rolling toe hold, dude. He was standing in front of this guy. He does a front flip to do a rolling toe hold like 3 minutes in. And you can see visibly the guy's gassed. Like he's he's very tired. And then there's like another point he kicks the guy in the dick and he gets like a 40-second break. But I don't know. So, Anton definitely has the better long-term game, like in terms of like a 3-round fight, right? He'll clinch, he'll like look to get the back clinch, he'll look for trips. And then if he gets put on bottom, he's got like the Damian Maya sweep. Sorry, I just did like the sign of a cross just because I just put Anton Turkalj and Damian Maya's name in the same sentence. You know what I mean? I had to, ask my jiu-jitsu gods for, apologize to them. But he does these little sweeps, right? He does the underhook. I'm giving you guys good analysis right here. He does a little underhook and up on single legs. The guy knows how to grapple. So I think we're gonna get a grappling match here. I got a little. The only bet I got on this fight so far is I was able to get a bit of over 1.5. I think it's since changed to over 2.5. But I think if you could find over 1.5, I kind of like it. I do think that Pedro will try to finish the fight early. So that like as in if it does go to the ground, I think he's gonna look for submissions. If it's on the feet, I think he's gonna be looking to throw power shots. But he's not really on the feet. He's kind of like those kind of strikers that they'll just look to like come forward on you. They're not really building on a lot of their strikes. Like they're just looking for an opportunity to throw one if you're coming in on them. And technically, Turkalj is not really a guy who's gonna sit in the pocket with you. So I don't really think there's going to be that many opportunities for big strikes early on. And I just think these guys are going to hug a bit early on. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to stay away in terms of side. Like it's like minus 105 both sides right now. It's probably the correct take. But I just don't think that Pedro's going to submit Turkalj. And I don't think Turkalj's going to submit Pedro early. But Pedro's a fucking flake. So I don't really want to lose money on him. So for me, it would be Anton or pass, but only over for my the only bet of the fight for me.
All right, yeah, over 1.5 still available at a lot of places. So
What do you
that's
take? What do you take? What do you take? Anton decision as well, Martian. It's like plus 500, I think 400.
no,
You like that?
I would be more tempted to do a finish one because
A
I think
finish.
yeah, I think because he's gonna be on the ground, I could just see Pedro wilting like he did
So
versus
you know,
Shogun.
maybe some round three decision for Turkalj. But moving on.
Yeah, we're going to the prelims next, staying in the bigger divisions, light heavyweight division. Carlos Ulberg, Jung. Odds for this one have Ulberg minus 260, Jung plus 220. Your turn to start this one off.
This one's on a fight that I have a ton of conviction on or a great read. Dong Jung's been in a lot of these fights where they're striking fights, and I kind of want to say that hey, maybe we can like invest in him a bit just because we know that I technically like his hands, like I like that his boxing, a bit. He comes in on decent angles sometimes. He's a little bit of a unit, but he just, I don't know. There's something about the guy that I just don't have a great read on. So I don't really think that, even at the plus money, it's something that, like, there's not that a great path that I see that really entices me. And then looking at the Ulberg side, he's another guy that, sometimes he can maybe let a fight be. He's more of a counter striker. I don't got a good read on him either. So honestly, my best bet on this fight, or if I were to pick something on this fight, it would be another one that I'm going over 1.5. But I think I'm gonna just say out of this one, don't have a great read on it. Don't know how really these guys in a clash. Both guys long strikers for the division, have a good reach. So maybe they stay on the outside a little bit, kick a bit. We'll see a little bit of clinch fighting if they do start throwing, but not a great read for me on this fight. How about you?
Yeah, not much conviction either. I mean, Jung looked really, really bad in his last fight against Clark. Completely different matchup. Also looked pretty bad against Jacoby. Just got blasted with the right hand in that fight. And gotta think the fight's gonna stay standing. If anyone's taking the fight to the ground, it's gonna be Jung. But I mean, he just really has not done that reliably enough. I mean, I guess he did it versus William Knight, but that's really the only way I think that Jung's gonna have a way to win the fight. I think he's just gonna be too slow for him to win the fight on the feet. I think Oldberg is just gonna be the much sharper striker, especially with the punches, man. I just think that the Jung's he's got a huge head and it just stays way too centered and there's no way Ulberg just isn't going to tee off when he's at range. So Jung better hope to wrestle early here, or I think he could get put out in the first round. But I mean, my man did hit 8 takedowns versus William Knight, so it's not like it's impossible for him to attempt a wrestling game plan. And Ulberg really, I mean, Ulberg hasn't fought any wrestlers yet, um, like not a single one. So that area of his game, is still untested. You gotta think it's not gonna be great considering he comes from a kickboxing background, but, I think it'd probably be, Jung or pass, but no urgency or desire to even take him at this dog shot odds. So, nothing on that one for me. Next fight, also prelims, in the featherweight division. Jack Jenkins taking on Chepe-Mariscal. Odds for this one: Jack Jenkins minus 200, Mariscal plus 170. Initially was leaning on Mariscal here and placed a bet on him, but kind of lost interest in it. I believe the best bet now is the fight to go the distance, minus 160. I just think the market is overrating Jack's finishing ability, and that's the same thing they were doing last fight. I bet on Jenkins' decision versus Emmers. That fight was never ever remotely close to finishing on either side, and Jenkins is just a really patient fighter. I think my opinion of him decreased a little bit in that last fight, but Emmers is a good fighter, so it's not like we saw anything embarrassing from Jack there. But I saw good things from his takedown defense in recent fights, but then the last fight, once he finally got put on bottom, you did see some bad things from him there, going full guard. He had his back against the cage. There was a lot of times in that fight where I thought he was gonna let go of the full guard, put his back to the cage, look to stand up, but he just really wasn't doing it. Just did not have good urgency to get back up to his feet there. So I think his bottom game could still be a bit of a concern. And I just think that Chepe is always involved in dog fights, in close back and forth fights. His regional fights, he's had so many back and forth fights. He's fought a who's who of guys. And in his last fight, he was struggling to get in the UFC for years. He took a fight on short notice, up a weight class on a few weeks' notice or a week or two's notice, and he won the fight handedly. I don't think he looked amazing in that fight, but he got the job done in a tough ask, and it's now time to really officially start his UFC career at 145. But you got to look, Chepe's last fight at 145, he missed weight by 4 pounds in that one, so he might be having trouble cutting that weight. And, back to the goes the distance thing though, Jenkins, he's just not a hard puncher, the guy kicks legs, you're gonna hear the commentators, brag about how he's broken all these guys' legs. Well, he kicks legs and he doesn't really build on it, and he doesn't land a whole lot of punches afterwards as well. So I think if Chepe is getting his legs kicked, he's just gonna look to tie up, and they're gonna tie up, they're gonna grapple. I don't see either submitting one another. So I do think this fight will stretch to go the distance. It probably will be a Jack Jenkins decision here. But from a money line perspective, I think it's dog or pass, and then the best bet on the fight for me is goes the distance.
Okay, so so this fight, I've been thinking about this fight quite a bit. So I'm looking at it. I was looking at it, and I was thinking, okay, maybe Mariscal, now he's down into his weight class, so maybe he could get some stuff going, with versus Trevor. But then I'm thinking again, and I'm like, man, like he really got a lot of grappling positions on Trevor Peak. Couldn't really finish. Trevor Peak obviously doesn't know any jiu-jitsu. He just kind of bucking around. But I thought at multiple times when I'm watching the fight, I'm like, oh, this over. Like Chepe's finishing him here, and it never materialized. And also, he just looked like a kind of like a soft hitter. I don't know. But like you said, 145 now in this fight, flying all the way over there. He took a lot of damage against Trevor Peak. I know maybe his face wasn't messed up, but that was an insane brawl. And he's turning around pretty quick against a guy where I just think that Chepe, he just so sloppy, man. I'm looking at I like the guy. I liked a lot of his fights. I'm looking at his regional fights or even look at his Faria fight, any of his fights. His chin is out in the air. He's winging hooks, and he just is easy to get away from him. I feel to avoid like even Trevor Peak was sometimes dodging some punches. So I just feel that Jack Jenkins is gonna be easy for like a guy of his demeanor and like his striking style. It's just gonna be easy for him to pick away. Or even if he wants to throw down with Chepe, he's gonna be able to land the better shots because his fundamentals are just better than Chepe Mariscal's. And then in the grappling realm, I do not like some of the things that I saw from Jenkins in terms of his bottom game versus like Emery's, but Chepe just gets reversed by everybody. Like he was landing in some of these insane positions on Trevor Peak, and Trevor Peak somehow is getting out. And I just don't see him being able to control Jack. Maybe he'll get a takedown, but I just don't see him being able to use the grappling game plan. And I just see Jack Jenkins outworking him, just beating him overall. Now, over or under, or how is it going to finish? I'm not that sure. I was initially considering, honestly, the goes the distance, but I think it's a similar price to just play Jenkins on the money line. And I think I'm just better. I just feel better going with that because I just don't see Mariscal winning a decision. So I'd rather have the Jenkins finishing equity along with the bet. So I got Jack Jenkins on the money line.
All right, that's going to move us along to the next fight, which is in the lightweight division. Jamie Mullarkey taking on John-Makdessi. And the odds for this one, Mullarkey steamed this week, minus 260 now. Makdessi coming back plus 220. A lot of action coming in on Mullarkey this week. I think he was like minus 180 just like
He
maybe 3 or
was.
4 days ago. So
Mhm.
you agree with the line movement here?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that minus 180, I was like, well, obviously the side on that fight is Jimmy Mullarkey, because John Makdessi I mean, his last fight was not really a good performance by him at all, and Mullarkey is like another guy. Like he's a punch magnet often. You never know. He's kind of like disappointing often, but I feel he's more well rounded than John Makdessi. Obviously, it's a home fight for him. I think a little bit longer with the reach. I think he's got a little bit of a longer reach than normal for the division typically. And then maybe he could be able to time maybe a takedown or two here as well to mix it up. But honestly, when it got above minus 200, I was like, man, I just don't want to rely on Jamie Mullarkey at some point in the fight deciding to do the right thing, right? We've seen him dropped. We've seen him fight like a debutant where he doesn't, right? He fought the Prado guy, where he doesn't really like overwhelm. So it's a fight I just don't want any part of. Honestly, I don't. Makdessi, I heard he's doing this camp at Fight. I don't really give a shit, man. I don't care about any of that stuff. The guy looks far gone to me, and I don't really want to get involved. So it would be for me like maybe like a Mullarkey like decision or decision for me. But he just got knocked out so primarily because he got knocked out so brutally that I think maybe he tries to play it safe here. Um, so yeah, that's all I got on that fight though.
Yeah, not much of confidence for me here. Makdessi, a few years ago, I think this would have been a good fight for him because he probably is the sharper striker of the two on the feet, and he's always had pretty decent takedown defense as well. But he's just getting too old, and definitely looked a little shop worn in that last fight versus Nasrat. The win over Ignacio not really aging too well. Uh, I'll tell you what is aging well though, the win over Jesus Pinedo, making waves over
Oof.
in
Yeah.
PFL. I can't believe that fight actually happened. I totally forgot about that one. But yeah, I think Mullarkey probably wins in underwhelming fashion. Minus 260, I think, has gone too far. But Nasrat, or excuse me, Makdessi is just a little too old for me to get interested in this one. And, it's hard to imagine the most common finish here. They have Mullarkey KO as the most likely finish. I don't think so. Mullarkey sub, that's been a bet that some people have donated to over time. I mean, plus 1400. I gotta think that the grappling is his easiest path here. And, with
Plus
Makdessi,
1400 sounds crazy,
yeah,
but that's kind of like them telling you that this fight's going to decision, bro. That's what it tells me, honestly.
yeah. I mean, he
Because I
has
think I think if they're striking the whole time, dude, Jamie Mullarkey's not knocking out John Makdessi. He's not gonna do it. It's not gonna happen.
I agree. I
It's
agree.
not going to happen, dude.
And Malarkey has 3 subs, but hasn't got one since 2015, so almost 8 years without a sub. So yeah, but you're right. Probably is going to go the distance. Probably going to be a pretty boring fight, honestly. So moving along, a guy familiar to the last opponent, Makdessi, Nasrat Haqparast taking on Landon Quinones in the lightweight division here. Nasrat, huge favorite, minus 470. Quinones plus 370. Seems like a matter of is it going to be a Nasrat KO or a Nasrat decision? And I don't really know which one I'm leaning. I guess I'll go KO. But I really have no confidence in which one of the two. I do think Quinones is probably good enough to make it out of round 1 here, but do think he's just drawing very thin and should get beat up in these later rounds here. And, the one thing though I'll say is Quinones is a horrible grappler and Nasrat is not going to grapple. So it's not like Nasrat is going to take the path of least resistance. And he's just generally been a fighter who never really blows guys out of the water. He's had um, a lot of fights where he just has looked kind of unimpressive. And his wins in general are just pretty mediocre, even though he's had a pretty long UFC career. So never been impressed by Haqparast. Don't think I want to really invest in him here. Uh, I don't know. What are you thinking about a method of victory for Nasrat here?
Nasrat's not good, dude. I know 4 guys that would clean his clock, and yeah, this guy's not good. I'm not betting on Lenny Quinones though. There's no way. I'm not. You don't want to invest on this fight because any way, which way you go about it, even though I like sweats where I'm like actually interested. Like, Quinones, you don't know anything about him. You don't know is he tough? Is he a guy that is in the third round? Is he gonna keep going for it? Is he soft to the body? Has he fought southpaws? Like Nasrat, you don't want to trust him either because like a bunch of his fights, like there's like weird circumstances, but his power is like overrated. But you have like a over here is like minus 140. You got to lay a quarter to go the distance. So this is the bathroom break fight. There's no women fights on this card, right?
No, no, there's not.
No,
Luckily,
crazy how they deprive the Sydney of female fights, but they give Abu Dhabi a bunch of them, right? Or does
Paris they
Abu
gave
Dhabi have?
3 of them.
What about Abu Dhabi? Does Abu Dhabi have any or no? Yeah, they have
Uh,
some, right?
what and
I
coming
think.
up in October or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, I
I'm
think
not
so.
sure.
Yeah, well, but it is very weird for them not to have any female fights, but this is the female fight, or this is not the female fight. Excuse me. This is a bathroom break fight. Bathroom break fight.
Basically,
Okay.
though.
No, no, take that back. It's the bathroom break. I want you to bleep that out. This is the bathroom break fight of the night.
Okay.
Pass.
They might identify as women, though. You never know.
Okay.
Welterweight division, Blood Diamond, Charlie-Radtke. They're giving
Now
Blood
this is
Diamond
a
another
fight.
shot.
Now this is
Yeah.
a fucking fight.
These
What
are
is it? The
men.
water buffalo? What's his name? What's his
No, I don't
nickname?
think that's Sharon. Blood Diamond, bro. That's his name.
No, I'm talking about Charlie.
Oh,
Doesn't he have a
it
fucking
is
nickname?
Chuck
What is
Buffalo. Chuck
Chuck
Buffalo.
Buffalo, Chuck Buffalo, Chuck Buffalo.
That's a
Okay, go
good
ahead.
one.
Yeah, son.
Welterweight division odds for this one. Radke minus 310, Matea or Blood Diamond plus 260. He ain't Mike Matea, bro. When you got a
No.
nickname like Blood Diamond, you don't go back.
But you
But
know Blood Diamond is my turn, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
think. Yeah, Blood Diamond is such a funny nickname because it's like the most like you just know like if for someone that has gone like training like MMA gym or jiu-jitsu gym or something like that, it's like whenever you do something stupid or like if there's like an easy ass reference like a low hanging fruit kind of thing, like that's the kind of nickname that is oftentimes you're given. And Blood Diamond, I just feel like it's like one of those ethnic like it's kind of like you don't give someone that nickname in 2023
yeah.
but in like 2011, 2010, when you fuck with him and you knew him, you definitely give him that nickname, right, Martian? You agree with me, right?
I mean, he
You've heard
probably
some edgy.
yeah. It
You've
probably
heard
came
some
out
edgy. You've
after
heard some edgy nicknames for
the
sure.
Leo DiCaprio movie. What
Oh,
wasn't that
definitely. Oh,
was that shit called Blood Diamond?
oh, definitely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure. But you know what I mean? Like they don't give. I have not met like a 21-year-old kid, a 20 that's got like an edgy nickname. Where are the edgy nicknames other than Pleasure
Right.
Man? But these kids need to shape up a little bit. But in regards to fight, I mean, Charlie is a big favorite here. I don't really know about this. Right? He's like two. Last time I looked, it was like 250, and I'm like, man, right? I think it's even more now. I'm not really.
Yeah.
I'm standing up right now. What's it called? So he's got the ground advantage, but I just feel that like Blood Diamond, he's just like an awkward dude. So like he is like the kind of guy that he'll land like a knee or like an elbow or something like that, and like Charlie will fall over, and then everybody's like, the fight is fucking fixed. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is the kind of fight where some shit like that can happen. So I'm not really looking to invest in this at all. If someone told me that they were taking Blood Diamond, I would tell them, bro, there's more fights coming up. Do we really need to do this? We really don't, man. So I mean, I honestly, I would think the fight goes over. Maybe like I just think that both these guys are gonna be tense in there. This Chuck Buffalo dude sometimes not really looking to grapple all that much early on. And then if he's not grappling early on and maybe even if Blood Diamond is not having a lot of success and maybe landing a few body shots, whatever, basically that he gets fatigued, then I don't really think that I think that he might not have enough energy to finish it late with a submission. So I think it could probably I would lean for it to go the distance. But your turn.
Yeah, I guess the only lean I would have would be Radke sub because I just think that if he takes the easiest path to victory here, going for takedowns, I think the submission will be there. And I thought this guy's top game was pretty good. I think he has solid back takes. He can finish the fight on top with like an arm triangle if he needs to. And it just seems like a process driven grappler, and that seems good enough for me to take versus any Blood Diamond. And anytime Blood Diamond is fighting a guy who knows how to get takedowns, keep opponents down, work his way into a submission, that would be enough for me to pick against him. And also CFFC proven, undefeated in CFFC, and I found it interesting that Radke fought in Bellator. There's another guy who fought in Bellator too on this card. It's Kiefer-Crosbie. The UFC almost never. I feel like they like if you fight in Bellator, even as like a prelim fighter, I feel like the UFC they put you on like a shit list and they don't sign you. But they're giving Radke a chance here. And was he supposed to fight in the Contender Series or something? No, he wasn't. But yeah, they're clearly giving Blood Diamond another fight because he's friends with Izzy. The first two fights have not really gone his way. The last time he fought a CFFC fighter, he got strangled in the first round by Jeremiah Wells. And I got to think the Radke, sub. If he game plans, if he watches tape on this guy, he knows how bad of a grappler he is once he's put on his back. And the guy's not exactly a lethal striker, but striking is clearly his bread and butter. So if you want to give Blood Diamond his best chance to win, you keep the fight standing. If you want to make the fight as easy as possible, you go for the takedowns. And if you go for the takedowns, the submission should be there as well. So the price isn't amazing on it. It's only plus 140. Hopefully some books open it up a little bit better. I see plus 190 on one book. If I could get like plus 180, I would take some. So enough about that one. Moving on to the second to last prelim in the featherweight division, Shane Young taking on Gabriel Miranda. Odds for this one, Shane Young minus 170, Miranda plus 145. Kind of the same situation. The guy struggling lately is trying to get a win. They're trying to get him a win in his home country here. Oh wait, home country. Let's see. Nope, he's from New Zealand too. I should have known this. Shane Young is like an authentic.
Maori.
Yeah, no, I don't know if he is or not, but he
Yeah, he
definitely
is. He did the thing. He did the Zula.
The Haka, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're probably right about that one. Yeah, his nickname looks like it's a Maori name. So, um, he's fighting a bum. Gabriel Miranda is a really bad fighter. All of this guy's wins are like quick round one finishes over low level fighters. And Benoit put the beating on him in his last fight. Can't really fault the guy for too much on that one. Debuting in France versus Benoit Saint Denis after we saw how good he looked last week. I mean, that's a tough task for anybody. So can't really fault him there. But just if you rewatch some of this guy's fights before the UFC, I mean, he's just submitting really low level fighters, and it just seems like he doesn't really have good wrestling to get the fight to the floor. Shane Young is not going to take the fight to the floor, so I think Shane should be a good enough striker to really outbox this guy and to just jab and kick him up and win probably a decision here, but. I don't know, man. Shane Young looked horrible in his last fight. Blake Bilder looked horrible after that fight. Bilder beat Young pretty easily. And then the next fight, Bilder looked horrible against Kyle Nelson. So I don't know, man. Shane really should win the fight and has potential to make it look easy. But there's enough red flags on Shane that I just don't think I can lay juice on him.
See, this right here is the fight we wait for live, boys, because we're gonna hope that Gabriel Miranda comes out, Brazilian fervor. I don't know, doing something. Maybe looks to win a first round. Who knows? I don't know, but we'll look to get Shane Young live. But otherwise than that, I just really want to invest in Shane Young. Pre-fight, the guy doesn't look like he really approaches fights all that well. It looks like being maybe like a Maori, he like wants to be in a scrap. Like he wants the fight to be competitive. I feel sometimes like if he hits the guy, he's like, oh no, like you do something now. You do something like show me your martial art. Like show me your heritage. Show me your haka. Whatever the fuck, It's how he's it's like that. But honestly, dude, this is how these people used to do. They're like, they do the fucking dance, their little screams, and they're like, let's see what you got. Or they'll shoot like an arrow at me. They're like, whatever. But so that's how I feel about the fight. So I don't really want to invest in this guy. He looks like a lunkhead, but I do think he will win the fight. I do think that Gabriel Miranda will not be able to have much grappling success in the way of finishing, and he's gonna start getting he's gonna get hit at some point or another. His durability does not. I mean, his durability looks okay, like okay-ish, but he's just gonna get hit. So eventually, I think he goes down. Maybe a late finish for Shane, but I don't think those numbers. Hold on, now I'm sitting. I don't think those numbers are that good. Where we got right here, one second.
Probably like plus
Opening.
500, 900 if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's not good. It's
Oh,
round three for
7.
him is oh no, 11.50. Oh yes. Yeah. Well, it's not what they're not that widely available. But maybe that, but otherwise, no. I got to bet on the next fight though.
You ever see the face tattoos that Maori people get?
Oh yeah, I've seen. I mean, they do a lot of stuff that's very
Those shits are rad.
yeah, it's very you're all in.
You think you could fuck with a chick who has like those tattoos like under her chin and shit? Or is that a little too
Sure. Fuck it. Why
Nah,
not?
nah. Too much of a cultural divide. I don't think we would make
Why? Why?
we couldn't handle it, bro.
Well, no, you said would I? It'd be their problem to accept me. I would accept them. Is would they accept me?
Yeah, but then you gotta be like,
And
"Yeah, meet this girl, Sacagawea," and then she's got face tats, and you're like, "Oh, no, she's from, New Zealand. It's cool,
okay,
bro."
perfect, exactly. Sounds like a good story.
No, that's true. It would be a good one. Last fight, welterweight division. Kevin Jousset taking on Kiefer Crosby. Two guys making their UFC debuts here. This is just a filler fight. The UFC didn't know who the hell these guys were 2 weeks ago. They call them up. They say, "Hey, we need a spot. We need a spot on the card filled." And Jousset's the favorite, -155. Kiefer Crosby +135. You said you got a bet on this one, so you can start it off. What are your thoughts here?
Yes, I mean, I just in general, I think I like what's his name? Kevin. I like the French New Zealander, I guess. The French, oh sure, I don't know if what French. The French are invading everywhere. All right. But I like him to win this fight. I just don't think that Kiefer is all that good. You know, I do think that the fight probably I I do favor the fight to go a little bit later, maybe a decision for my French boy here over Kiefer. But Kiefer, he just like a lot of his fights where it used to be at 155. He does celebrity boxing. I don't know what this dude's doing in the UFC. I don't even know why he's here. I think it's like to check off something off his bucket list, honestly. And like he's like he got Connor to get him in. Is what it feels like to me. But I don't think it's gonna be end up being successful. I think he's weak in a lot of areas. Like I don't think his conditioning is that good. I don't think he's a very good grappler. I don't think he's a very good striker. And I just think Kevin honestly is better than him in all facets. He's definitely got better conditioning than him in cardio. And it's just a matter, I guess, if he lets him hang in the fight. I guess a little bit too long, because I think he has done that a few other times. In terms of total, I don't think I really want to get too involved. I just think I rather just capture all the methods of victory for Kevin in the money line. But I would, like I said, I probably would favor him to win by decision. But it's like a trend for me with most of these fights, so I don't want to pick goes the distance or decision on every fight. And then and then if it goes wrong for me, I don't have any of these money line exposures. So I got money line. I got a little earlier, like maybe like a 10 cents less than this. But I think anything under like 165, 160, I think is a fair price on Kevin.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kevin will win. Just rewatching Crosby's fights, the guy's just super volatile, man. I mean, when he's on the outside, he just doesn't really look like he knows what he's doing. He looks like he's very unsure of himself. Then when he gets wild, he brawls in the pocket. He has some success, but he also leaves his chin right on the center line. We've seen him rocked and dropped a lot of times. We've seen him get beat up on the regionals a few times, and I just think Kevin is just a lot better put together. He seems more measured, more patient. I think that he is probably the better grappler of the two as well, and just think that Jousset is getting a lot better, and we're seeing bigger strides of improvement in his recent fights rather than Crosby. And I believe that Jousset's the side. Probably, I'd say, I mean, maybe even a little more confident than you. I'd say and anything under 2-1 is probably good. So, gonna end up with
Mm,
a small bet on him here.
should be a big bet.
No, because they're both debutants. It's not a spot where you can really fully invest. I would say 1 to 1.5 units is warranted on Jousset here, and that's gonna do it.
Great.
We're done all the fights. Did a little backwards order this time. It's probably gonna be well, there's one pick'em fight, but it's probably gonna be all the favorites winning. I would be shocked to see more than 2 underdogs win. If we're excluding the one pick'em fight, I really don't see more than 2 dogs winning. So, um,
What's the dog you're most confident in winning?
I would say probably
That's a ugly board, dude.
I would say
That board is ugly.
probably Chepe-Mariscal or Tai Tuivasa, I'd say have the best chance.
Got it. All right. We still need to do our FMK. But right before we do that, I had a follower, someone messaged me, and they messaged me and asked me about this bet openly exchange. They're like, "Yo, do you know anything about this? This, and that." So I went on it. I looked. I guess some people are promoting it, and I mean that site is horrible. Okay, like I don't know, for an exchange, it looks like the UI, the UX, the U is terrible. So if anyone is looking to use any exchanges, US based. There's one that I've used for I think over a year. A bunch of guys have used it. It's the Forecaster Exchange. So I would recommend anyone's interested in things like exchanges and anything like that. Use that site instead of that Bet Openly one. It just looks sketchy. I looked at on the back end as well and some other stuff. Doesn't look like a very great reputable site. So if you're interested in that, maybe send me a message. If you want to just sign up to it, I think it's only invite code, so you can use Ozzy OZZY as a promo code. But if you want to ask a question about it, send me a message. But plenty of guys use it. Bunch of ball sports, good prices. You could name your price. It could be sometimes some of it is zero commission as well. It's a good site, and I've used it for multiple years now. But just wanted to mention that after seeing that site and some of the stuff that people promote. Obviously, people just you pay them a bit and they'll promote anything. So anyway, so let's get over to FMK though.
Yeah,
Martian,
you said
did you jot down? Go ahead.
one thing you said is zero commission. I will not be getting zero commission. I'm getting 40%. That's the deal Ozzy and I arranged. I let him take the majority, but I'm getting my 40%. So yeah, feel free to sign up for that. And I got mine ready. I got mine ready. I had them
Perfect.
prepared, and I picked them all around the same price to really make this tempting here. So first one, I bet I mentioned Charles-Radtke submission plus 140. Okay, next
Oof.
one. Nasrat Haqparast decision plus 125. Last but not
Oof.
least, Jack Jenkins decision plus 135. So all very, very closely lined to one another. Radke sub, Nasrat decision, Jack decision.
All right. So if I'm going here, I'm gonna fuck. Uh, I'm a grappler, obviously. I like to cuddle. I like to grapple. I like to fuck. So I'm gonna fuck. The Charlie Radke submission line. So anytime you're going against a guy named Blood Diamond, and you got a submission grappler, you probably want to do some fucking. So we'll do that. I'm gonna marry easy Jack Jenkins decision. I love that line. That's actually probably gonna end up being a bet for me. If I add on to it a little bit, and then I gotta kill that last one, the
Nasrat.
Nasrat decision. I hate Nasrat. I never want to invest anything in that guy. So definitely big pass on that, and I'll put a few shells in that one. All right, so Martian, for you, we're gonna do a little bit of a blend. Okay, so we're gonna do your boy Anton Turkalj inside the distance. What is he? Plus 175. Ooh, that's not a good price. Inside the distance. That's a terrible price. So we got that. We got Israel Adesanya inside the distance. Plus what do we have here?
No, that's not plus.
Sorry. Oh, excuse me, minus 125. And then the over 1.5 in the Volkov Tuivasa fight, 115, minus 115. So fuck, marry, kill. Those three props.
Okay. These are good. These are tough. These might be the toughest one to date.
Wow. What will
Mm,
he do? What will he decide?
man,
Stumped.
I'm having to think about this one.
That boy stumped.
Okay. Um I got this one. So I'm gonna start it off with one you wouldn't expect. I'm gonna start with the kill. The kill is the Anton ITD because
Mm.
I think the money line is good enough to where I don't see the extra point in the ITD, especially because I think if it goes to decision somehow, I think that's very good for Anton. So I don't see enough meat on the bone with the ITD, so I'm killing that one. Um, the one I'm gonna fuck is going to be the two big boys, the Ty Volkov over 1.5,
Mm.
because I think it could get there, but it's gonna have some sweaty moments. Ty's fights always have some swinging in them, so it's gonna be a little sweaty. And then the marry I'm gonna do is the ITD because he really could make the shit look easy. It could be a levels type of fight. I'm expecting the finish to come late, but I could be dead wrong, and it could just come quickly. So, um, just that's gonna be the marry on that one. So
There you go. All right, nice.
that'll
A
do it
lot of
for that'll
props.
that'll
All
do it
prop
for us.
edition. Our
We're
first all
we're
prop edition of Fuck Mary Kill.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. We're gonna be back in America technically next week,
Finally.
but we're basically gonna be in Mexico
That's
for
my
that
second
card.
home. That's my second home. That's my
Uh,
second home.
Mexico is right, not Las Vegas.
No, Mexico, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It'll be like an honorary Mexican event. So we'll be back before that one. Hope you all
Alexa
enjoy the.
Grasso is catching some steam there.
Really, I didn't
Yeah.
see that. Hope everybody enjoys the start to NFL season. Magical time in America.
Let's go
Hope everyone
Giants.
hope everyone enjoys the fights this weekend. Win some bets, and we'll see you all before the next UFC event. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Catch you guys next week. Peace out.
Danny Dimes MVP.